What is going on, everybody? How's it going? Got another Hot Topic video going. I don't know why I haven't changed the name from Hot Topic to something else, because last time Bryant pretty much convinced me that I needed to, because Hot Topic was a teeny bopper store in the mall, and I agreed with him, but I haven't changed the name yet, so it's still a Hot Topic video in the Hot Topic playlist. But I want to talk about public land versus private land, only because everybody likes to talk about it. No, for real though, channels like the Hunting Public and you got the Whitetail Adrenaline and some other companies out there have gotten crazy popular because of hunting public land, killing great deer on public land, showing how they're getting things done, and it just made a lot of people curious. Is public land really that good? Are these guys just putting in astronomically more time than everybody? Is there a reason that you would want to hunt public land over private land? And we're going to hopefully dive down into the root of some of these questions. I'm not going to just talk about my opinion. I'm going to actually share my experience with you to hopefully give you an idea of where I'm coming from. And it might not be exactly where you're at, but in your future, you may have a very similar experience happen to you. And so some of the things I'm about to share with you might be good things to think about. So a few years ago, I lost permission on one of my main farms that I had permission to hunt. I pretty much grew up hunting there, had a little creek that ran back there, and I played in it, I fished in it, and then as I got older, that's kind of the property that I cut my teeth when it came to hunting and bow hunting specifically. And once I lost permission to that farm, I realized real fast that I needed to have some sort of plan B, because I had some shooters on camera, and then all of a sudden a few of them just up and disappeared, and I didn't know why, didn't know where they went. Most of the spots that I had hunted on those farms were just based off of experience of years past, things that I had seen bucks do. Therefore, I hunted the same stands over and over again. You know, I got a lot of my intel from trail cameras, but when it came to trying to analyze a brand new piece of property quickly, or finding a new place to hunt, that was like this huge daunting task that I felt like I could never accomplish in a year. Finding another property that had, the cover, the ag, the low hunting pressure, the quality and size of bucks just didn't seem like it was something I could find on public land. While hunting private land is really nice, and it was a great way for me to get started, it kind of made me a lazy hunter. I wasn't really learning anything because I didn't really have to. Like I said, I just went and hunted the same spots over and over. The strategy was more like repetitiveness, and eventually that big buck's gonna walk by. There wasn't a whole lot of strategy into predicting where a big buck was at any given time, because frankly I didn't really know. I was just kind of an opportunity hunter with certain specific setups. And I guess when I lost that permission, it was just this huge kind of moment of, I don't know, it was more than just permission on the property. I lost all of that accumulated knowledge and strategy, if you will, all the spots that I had that I could count on. I lost all of it. And it had taken me years to figure that stuff out. Even though, I could go out and start door knocking and trying to find other pieces of private ground to hunt. I had done that in the past. I had knocked on a lot of doors, and I'd gotten a lot of no's. And I just didn't really want to go through that grueling process all over again. Not to mention just the thought looming in the back of my head of, what if I get permission on another killer piece of property, and I'd take and invest all this time into, tree stand sets, trail cameras, putting all these hours into the property and then losing permission. I just didn't want to deal with that again. The concept of hunting public, where I don't have a lot invested into it. I'm not putting out permanent tree stand sets. I'm not necessarily having to go put out tons and tons of trail cameras if I don't want to. I can come, I can go, and it's going to be there. So whatever I learn is going to be retained knowledge that I can use year after year. If I find a good plan B spot, it'll probably be there for years to come. Granted, obviously things change, but that concept in and of itself is pretty attractive to me. So let's quickly just set the grounds for why do guys like private, and why do guys like or not like public. I don't think there's too many people that don't like a good piece of private land. If I have anybody offer me a great farm to hunt, I'm not going to turn them down by any means. So the first thing would be control over the property. With private land, you probably have a lot more control over stuff than you would on public land. Public land, you have absolutely no control. No control over the people that hunt it, over how frequently they hunt it, over how many of them hunt it. Private land, you at least know who's on the property, and you're able to have a lot more control in that regard. And not just control with pressure, you have control over your spots. Like you can go and preset spots up and, trim lanes, hang stands, do food plots, that kind of stuff to, try to give you a little bit of an edge, where public land, all that stuff's out the door. Some things are similar though when it comes to problems with people. With public land, you can have people, walking on you and potentially ruin your setup. With private land, you can have people trespass. You can have neighbors that hate your guts. Like, you could have some really bad situations with private land too, and I've experienced some of them, just because everybody, I don't know, they freak out about the concept of somebody being able to come in and hunt very close to you on public land, but everybody overlooks all of the deep, gut-wrenching issues that private land property boundary disputes can cause. And I can say from experience, you don't want that. When private land's good, it's good. And then when private land gives you issues, it is hell on earth, literally. When it comes to resolving people issues, with public land, you just go to another spot, you just go move. With private land, a lot of times you're stuck with those issues and there's not really any getting out of it. You got too much invested into that property, and you gotta come to some sort of solution. It can be very, very stressful. With private land, obviously you can lose permission. With public land, typically you don't ever lose that land if it's actually owned by the state. If you hunt commercial forest or private open to public, obviously those are different, but you get the idea. Finding new private land pieces to hunt can be extremely difficult. It can take a long time. It can get very discouraging. Finding new public places to hunt is just as easy as looking on a map or getting on Onyx or something and going and checking out a new spot. So those are some quick pros and cons with public and private land. Now, in my opinion, public land is always a great place to start if you're not familiar with an area. If I was to go out of state and I was looking to lease/purchase property, if I didn't have any kind of rock solid proof that I knew that property was going to be really good or that area was really good, the first thing I probably would do would be to just go and hunt land surrounding that area and see what it's like, see what the quality of the land is, what are the deer numbers like, what are the quality of the deer like, and that would give me a better idea if I really like the area or not. So even if I did have the money to lease or purchase private property, I would probably always start with public if I wasn't familiar with the area. Another thing to note is that giving up control can mean giving up a lot of stress. I know personally, by hunting public land, it's taken a huge burden off my shoulders. I don't have to worry about losing permission to any of my public ground that I hunt. All I got to do is I got to stay current on the information, on what their deer doing, where the hunter's at, and that kind of stuff. But I don't ever have to worry about losing permission. Most of the encounters that I have with people are positive, contrasted with private ground, where it's a lot of times when I had a confrontation with a person, it was always negative. I very rarely ran into anybody on private, and when I did, it usually wasn't a positive experience. So far, all of the run-ins that I've had on public land, at least in my state here in Michigan, have been from other hunters, and they're out there doing the same thing that you are. So every once in a while you get the guy that's like, this is my spot, I'm not going to tell you where I'm going, and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I found that a lot of guys are very respectful, they're very kind, and they want your hunt to go just as well as they want their hunt to go. And they're very friendly people. And my second to last point is just that deer are deer, no matter if they're on public ground or on private ground. I've learned this more and more the more that I hunt, and that is that deer typically avoid people in general. They usually go to the best quality cover and food in general, and wherever all that meets, wherever people aren't and the food and the other deer are, that's where the deer are going to be. And I think people get a sour taste in their mouth with public land because, they go hunt places where a lot of other people have been and the deer aren't really there. And they just think, well, public land stinks. The reality is that those deer can still be found, but they're in those obscure, overlooked spots They're in the inside corner of some sort of a road intersection where, the average dude is thinking, that's stupid. Like, I would never go hunt there. But guess what? You're going to jump 160 incher out of there, or you're going to go jump a, massive buck out of this little obscure spot only because nobody's going over there. There are those spots. I've experienced those experiences. The same thing that holds true with public land holds true with private land. I've hunted private land that's gotten a lot of pressure. Where those people are, those deer are not. So no matter what you're hunting, the same rules apply. Once you learn to play by those rules, you can still find yourself getting on deer consistently. And that leads me to my last point, which is just learn from everyone. Yes, it can be a lot harder to kill bucks on public versus private. You have to do a lot more work to figure out where they're at. The pressure can cause them to move a lot more frequently, but all that work can just make it that much more rewarding. That rule kind of applies to both sides. When you have somebody putting in all that overtime at work, saving up all their money to buy a piece of property, all that work makes that property just that much more rewarding for them. Every hunter more or less has earned their deer one way or the other, whether it's buying ground or leasing ground, or maybe they are very skilled with relationships and they can build relationships very quickly and easily with people and get permission. I've met people like that can just get permission on all sorts of pieces, and it just blows my mind, and I wish I had those connections and those kind of people skills, but I don't. But when you see somebody that is killing big deer, just ask yourself why, and then once you figure out why, then just respect that. If they had to go and they had to go buy property and they had to earn the money and do all the work on that side of things, that's something to be respected. So it's just as much as having people skills and getting permission, or just boots on the ground, getting really smart and just adapting with the deer on public land and investing boatloads of time that the average person probably can't. That's something to be respected too. I think a lot of young guys are all pumped up with the public land thing, and I don't blame them, because I love adventure hunting, and public land gives you amazing opportunities for adventure hunting when it comes to going hunt in other states, places you've never been before. That's like my most favorite thing to do ever when it comes to hunting. But someday you're going to get old and you're going to want a piece of property all to yourself, a little farm that you can go put up your ladder stands on, plant your food plots with your tractor, and let your grandkids hunt. And when it gets to that point, you're going to be paying attention to a little bit different crowd than you probably are right now. So that being said, should you hunt public? I don't know. I don't know what your situation is. For me, I was kind of forced into it a little bit, but I'm so glad that I was, because I feel like I have just broken into this whole new level of learning and just changing my mentality about stuff. I don't know what the saying is, pain, uncomfort, getting out of your comfort zone makes you grow. Well, that's held true for me big time. I'm not trying to say if you have this great piece of private ground, you should just give it up and go hunt go hunt your local piece of public ground and, make things a million times harder for you, because I do not blame you one bit if you hunt private ground and you just want to keep hunting it because it's really good and you can pull a big buck out of there every year. That makes total sense, and I've been there. But on the flip side, I wouldn't trade everything that I've learned from hunting public ground for anything. That's all I've got for you on this episode. I'm going to try to pull my brothers in for a couple, hopefully. It's about time to start packing up totes and keeping the bow in the back of the truck. So hope you guys are as stoked as I am. This past season's about ready to hit YouTube's and start airing, along with some hunts from years back that I'm so stoked to share with you guys. And pretty soon we're going to be hitting the woods ourselves with our cameras, documenting and putting together episodes for next fall to air. So let me know what you guys think. If you've got some sort of videos or content that you'd love to see us do, we may not know a single freaking thing about it, but I'd love to try stuff. I'd love to go experiment and learn. That's kind of why I've been scouting all these new places and putting up videos with the specific names of the locations, because I want to show you that I'm trying to learn places that they're not secret spots. Anybody can go to these different pieces of public land and go look at the same stuff that I'm looking at. I'm stoked, guys. Hunting season is so freaking close. God. Anyways, my wife's about to get home from work, so I'm gonna sign out. So we'll catch you guys in the next one.